People have been using sound to make music for thousands of years. They have invented many different kinds of musical instruments. Despite their diversity, however, musical instruments share certain similarities. The basic principle, however, is the same. All musical instruments create sound by causing matter to vibrate. The vibration starts sound waves moving through the air. Most musical instruments use resonance to apply the sound waves and make the sound louder. Resonance occurs when an object vibrates in response to sound of a certain frequency. In a musical instrument such as a drum, the whole instrument and the air inside it makes vibration when the head of the drum is struck. Most musical instruments have a way of changing the frequency of the sound waves they produce. There are three basic categories of musical instruments: percussion instruments, such as xylophones, wind instruments, such as clarinets, and string instruments, such as violin. Now, the definitions. A percussion instrument is a musical instrument that is sounded by being struck or scraped by a beater, including attached or enclosed beaters or rattles, scraped and rubbed by hand or struck against another similar instrument, excluding zoo musicological instruments and the human's voice. The percussion family is believed to include the oldest musical instruments. The wind instrument, on the other hand, is a musical instrument that contains some type of resonance, usually a tube, in which a column of air is set into vibrate by a player blowing into or over a mouthpiece set at or near the end of the resonance. The pitch of the vibration is determined by the length of the tube and by manual modification of the effective length of vibration column of air. In case of some wind instruments, the sound is produced by blowing through a reed, other required buzzing into a metal mouthpiece, while yet another required the player to blow into the hole at the edge, which splits the air column and creates the sound. A string instrument, stringed instruments, or chordophones are musical instruments that produce sound from vibrating strings when the performer plays or sounds the string in some manner. Musicians play some string instruments by plucking the string with their fingers and plectrum, and others by hitting the strings with a light wooden hammer or by rubbing the strings with a bow. In some keyboard instruments, such as the harpsichords, the musician presses a key that plucks the string. With bowed instruments, the player pulls a rosinette horsehair bow across the string, causing them to vibrate with a hurdy-gurdy. The music cranks a wheel whose rosined edge touches the strings. No matter what instrument you play, there are thousands of them. You basically fall into one of these three categories. Some sound travels in some way, whether it is sound or sound travels in the same way, whether it is music or noise. The difference between music and noise is the musical sounds are organized into patterns that have pitch and rhythm, whereas noise is just random disoriented sounds. A particular musical note is determined by the number of times that the music instrument vibrates per second, resulting in a sound wave. The number of times that a sound wave vibrates in a second is called its frequency. Scientists measure the frequency of sounds in cycle per second and express the measurement in hertz. The human ear can detect a range of frequencies. There are frequencies that are too high to detect but can be heard by other creatures, such as whales, and there are frequencies that are too high for us to hear, such as those produced by bats when trying to avoid other objects. So we know how higher and lower notes are produced, but how are louder and softer notes made? Put simply, louder notes are made by bigger vibrations and softer notes are made by smaller vibrations. Although the number per second or frequency of vibrations may remain the same, the loudness of the musical note does not necessarily change its frequency. There is now two further categories that are emerging nowadays: digital sound, and let's call the other one manual sound. But sure, it is not called manual. So, in the manual instrument, the sound is produced by the hollowness of the material attached. Like the violin, the sound of the string are then passed to a hollow part of the violin and then amplified by the type of the wood that is used to make the body of the violin. However, in the digital violin, the sound made by the string is then so amplified and is converted to the digital signal that is then transferred to a digital amplifier or a digital recording device, which then either simply records it or amplifies it and gives it to a speaker. So principle apply on piano, for example, where the sound can be produced by vibrating strings by hitting them by hammer. You know the old style, too big for my room piano? A simple keyboard can be used to create an almost same digital sound that can also be recorded into MIDI format. I say almost the same cause is not the same as string vibrating can create. That is so sweet sound that no matter how intelligent a computer gets, it cannot get to that level. Hopefully you have learned a thing or two about musical instruments. If you like this video, you know what to do. If you don't like it, you still know what to do. This is your host Mohsin Bukhari, signing out.